Welcome to One More Podcast, where we're having one more conversation about what matters. Whether you're on the treadmill or in the drive-thru, we're really glad you hit play. You can listen to One More Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also watch every episode on YouTube or on Spotify. And hey, if you enjoyed today's conversation, do us a favor, subscribe, leave a quick review, and share this episode with a friend. Seriously, you never know how a simple share might impact one more person. Coming up in today's episode.
My friend said to me, I can't imagine why anyone would want to go and look at the anti-Mormon information that's out there. He equated it to the use of heroin, and that bored a hole in my brain.
What is out there that's so detrimental that the church can't hold up to it? What could we find that would lead us astray in that way?
Our faith in God had not changed. Our faith in Mormonism was changing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to One More Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Davis. I'm not joined by Carter today because he is on a trip, but I am joined by the Meidls, Wes and Brooklyn, and they're going to here to share their one more story of life change. And so I'm excited to hear from y'all and just hear a little bit about how Jesus has changed your life. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So just, these episodes, I love to just start by saying, tell me your story and start from the beginning because I want your story to kind of be front and center. So tell me where it all begins with Jesus for y'all.
Yeah, so our story is interesting because it starts with what we thought we were doing and following Jesus. So I was born into a Mormon family, and my ancestry goes back to the Mormon pioneers that traveled across the plains with Joseph Smith. And so I was baptized at 8 years old into the Mormon church and was active throughout most of my high school years. There were some years that I was a little bit further away from the church teachings just because of not fitting in and getting pressures for playing sports on Sundays or doing things that weren't necessarily within what was kosher. And then when I graduated high school, I went off to BYU, Idaho for a semester and came back and was preparing to serve a Mormon mission. And during that time, I was working at Costa Vida, which was owned by another member. And that's actually where I met Wes.
Yeah. So was it love at first sight, or how did y'all's friendship build into a romantic relationship?
Well, I was actually serving a Mormon mission at the time. So I was one of those guys in the white shirt and tie, short sleeve white shirt, tie, black name tag. And we just happened to get really cheap food. And when you're a Mormon missionary, you're broke pretty much. And so we went in there a lot. And there was an attractive girl at the counter that I talked to frequently. Yeah. And that blossomed into a friendship when I got home from my mission. And one thing led to another.
Yeah. So did you grow up in the Mormon church as well?
I did not. So I grew up in a lot of churches pretty similar to Mountaintop, non-denominational. My parents are both people of incredible faith. They are close to Jesus. I would consider them scriptorians, certainly compared to me. Yeah. Both highly intelligent, and so they really know how to just deep dive into the Word. And as I grew up, I was more interested in everything else. Playing football, baseball, bowling, and started dating a girl who was a Mormon, just kind of out of nowhere. Yeah. And that then took up all my focus. Two of my closest friends in the world are Mormons, and one being very devout. And their family just accepted me, and to this day, I love them, admire them, consider them family to me. And so when I turned 18, despite the back and forth with my parents over going to the Mormon church on Sundays, I got baptized as a Mormon.
Okay. And so then you're out there on mission, and y'all meet and start to develop this friendship. And like, how did we get to where we're at today, I guess?
Yeah, so I was getting ready to serve my Mormon mission, and he starts talking to me. And in the Mormon church, it's very much emphasized that marriage is one of the most important things that you do. Right. And I saw so many qualities in Wes that I hadn't experienced in a lot of other Mormon men. He was very firm in his faith, but he didn't tiptoe around difficult subjects. And so I told my parents I was not serving my Mormon mission and got horrible backlash. And so when I went out to meet his family for Thanksgiving, we drove down to Oxford, Mississippi. I signed a lease for an apartment, and I surprised them with the news when I got back. So didn't end up serving a Mormon mission, and we moved to Oxford where he was going to undergrad.
And I actually came back from my mission early due to some pretty significant disputes with my what's called a mission president, who is over in charge of the whole area and all the missionaries in that area. And so I served for about 19 months. It's supposed to be 2 years. Yeah. And so when I got back, that's exactly when Brooklyn was talking about she came to meet my family for Thanksgiving, and I was going to Ole Miss at the time. And we started dating, and we were dating fully in the Mormon church. There's a what's called a ward, a local congregation in Oxford. We were there actively attending, faithful for 4 years until I graduated.
Yeah. And what was your experience like in the Mormon church?
That's a hard question.
Yeah.
The people in the Mormon church are spectacular. If you don't know any Mormons,
I have some friends that are Mormon.
So
you know, people.
They are family oriented.
Great values.
Great values. They live to serve. The true meaning of a servant's heart, I think you find with a lot of members of the Mormon church. So it's hard to say that we really had significant negative experiences. And look, our family who are still Mormons, our close friends who are still Mormons, we love them, we respect them, we admire their faith, their tenacity, their willingness to stand up for what they believe in. But something just had been tugging on me for a couple years, really, before coming here today.
Yeah. Do you think that it was a product of like the way you were raised in more evangelical churches, and some of that kind of like still being in your system and trying to come to grips with what you really believed, or what would you attribute that to?
It was more that maybe that played a factor, but number one, I was bored out of my mind at the Mormon church. There's no other way to put it. It is an organ and hymnals.
Sure, very traditional.
And very traditional. And not that there's anything wrong with worshiping that way, but it just bored me to death. And so I started losing my desire to be there. In the Mormon church, you don't get to choose where you serve. You are told this is where God has called you to serve, which I never liked, because I ended up doing things I had no interest in and didn't want to do, unlike Mountaintop, where I get to work with the students and just love that.
Yeah.
But I just was feeling a tug on me. I don't really know a better way to explain that, but that over the last 5 or so years, my desire to attend had diminished and continued to diminish. My desire to go to the Mormon temple was getting less and less.
Non-existent
at the end.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for something to kind of give me a spark.
Yeah. Because it's not like you had lost interest in faith or spirituality. or even religion really, but just something was missing.
That's exactly right. This whole process, I have never referred to it as a crisis of faith. At no point have I questioned God's existence or Jesus' sacrifice on the cross for the sins of the world or his love for me. My search it was a crisis of truth. I was looking for truth, and I'm not sure when you want to get to this, but this all culminated in one phrase that one of my closest friends used when we were having a conversation about a loved one who had left the Mormon church. One phrase. Our brother-in-law, not really my brother-in-law, but for all intents and purposes, he is. And we were talking about why he had left. We were going snowboarding in the mountains, Christmas of 2024. And my friend said to me, I can't imagine why anyone would want to go and look at the anti-Mormon information that's out there. He equated it to the use of heroin.
Wow.
In that you wouldn't go try out heroin knowing that it could kill
try
you.
Out drugs, right?
And just do it because you needed to see for yourself. He equated this seeking truth outside, curiosity, to the use of a drug.
Wow.
And that bored a hole in my brain.
Yeah. Do you think it's because it communicated to you a frailty of faith, maybe? That if it's that susceptible to, distraction, then maybe it doesn't hold up to, curiosity.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. What is it that you're not telling me? What is this horrible lie out there that is so strong that in their belief, Satan is going to turn me away from faith? No matter what I think I know, no matter what I believe in, what is that thing that is so bad that I can't see it?
Yeah.
And I can't determine for myself.
Yeah. And almost fed that curiosity for you, it sounds like.
It really did. And I'm a lawyer. I research for a living.
Yeah.
And so the more I thought about it, the more I said, I can't, I'm not on board with that. And that was taught to us throughout our membership in the Mormon church. That is their model.
Yeah. Just don't question.
They live
Not at all.
in a closed universe. See only what we give you.
Yeah.
Only what we put in front of you. Only the materials that we provide.
Yeah. So y'all were married at this point when this starts to unravel and...
Absolutely. So we got married in the Mormon temple in 2015 in Nashville.
Okay.
Therein lied another big issue in our lives because my parents could not see us get married.
Wow.
Because non-Mormons are not allowed in the Mormon temple.
Yeah.
And for me, it was interesting watching Wes over these 5 years slowly lose that desire for church. Since I was raised in it, I had never thought about doing anything different.
Sure.
And so when he brought up this comment that Mitch had said and had started expressing some desire to start looking into it, I immediately was filled with fear.
I'm sure, yeah.
I was like, I'm about to lose my eternal family, because eternal families is something that they touch a lot on. And it was really intimidating for me to think about losing that, because the fear of loss is a lot of what Mormons touch on when people leave the Mormon church. According to their beliefs, if he was to stop going to church and if I was to stop going to church, then we would lose our place in heaven. We would not be able to spend eternity with our families. And so it created a lot of pause, and I wanted to make space for his struggles while I was also really not in a place where I was ready to start questioning yet. And so it was really difficult to try and imagine my life without Wes being in the church. without me being in the church, I had never even considered that possibility because I was raised in it.
Sure.
I had heard stories throughout my entire teenage years about people falling away and how terrible that is. And so the thought that my family could be going through that was terrifying.
Yeah. So did you talk to your family about it when it started to happen?
Oh, no way.
Yeah. It was like that was a
Oh,
no-go.
yeah. There was no way that I was going to do it. I struggled with it internally for a long time. But when Wes brought up the comment about how we can't go searching for it, that planted the seed in me, just like it did with him. What is out there that's so detrimental that the church can't hold up to it? What could we find that would lead us astray in that way? And that's really where I was then okay with being curious to a certain point. I was okay with dipping into some of the information that he was researching. And it was shocking how fast our belief in the Mormon church crumbled. We went from being 100% faithful to, after one day of researching, I would say we were about 80% there.
Oh, wow.
Within 3 days, we had completely lost our faith in the Mormon church.
Wow. So what were some of the things that you were interacting with? Like YouTube videos?
There's
books?
a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. So right off the bat, we started out with a podcast. There's one podcast in particular that has been going for 10 years, maybe more, that is all about Mormons who have left, sharing their stories about why they had left.
Mm-hmm.
And in all reality, we got some good stuff out of that, but there is a lot of anger and a lot of hurt being shared that was not, and people going in a direction that we were not heading.
Yeah.
See, like I mentioned, our faith in God had not changed.
Mm-hmm.
Our faith in Mormonism was changing, but we were, I think we are significantly in the minority of people who leave the Mormon church, many of whom leave faith, religion altogether.
I think the same is true of evangelical Christianity, right? That when people deconstruct and leave the faith, they rarely choose a different faith. They atheist or agnostic, or leave the church, or they may some may still say they believe in Jesus, right? But they've lost all kind of attachment to a religious organization or something like that. So that's not that different,
right? And so we actually made the conscious decision, as we had started in this research process, to avoid a lot of that serious negativity. It wasn't doing us any good. It was making us angry. And what we decided was that we needed to focus on finding truth, which necessarily led into a deep dive on Mormon church history, Mormon theology, and comparing and contrasting that with traditional Christian theology. And it would take years to go through and talk about all of that. I can give you, if you're interested, I can give you some of the high points.
Yeah.
The single greatest problem that I found with the Mormon church is that, so here, when we come to Mountaintop on Sundays, and Carter preaches, or you preach, or Josh or Nick preaches, I can go home and I can fact check that
you can open
against the word.
Yeah, you can open the Word of God and be like, is it what they said?
Right.
Yeah.
Does it line up with what's in the Word?
Yeah.
Right? That's our fail-safe.
Sure.
But in the Mormon church, their fail-safe is a man. It is their, quote, prophet. Right? They have flipped that on its head. So to them, the Bible is true in as far as it is translated correctly. And who decides if it's translated correctly? Their prophet.
Okay.
Which means that everything is backstopped against a fallible human being rather than the Word of God.
Yeah, the authority of the Word of God, yeah.
Which was the biggest problem.
Yeah, so that was a game changer for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
big time. Big time. And it took some serious thinking about that, because for 15 years I had told myself that the prophet was essentially infallible.
Yeah.
Which is what they believe, and they're taught not to question their leaders.
Yeah.
In fact, it's one of the things you promise in the temple, that you will not question your church leaders.
Yeah.
As I researched cult tactics,
Yeah, sure.
top of the list, right?
Yeah.
That, control the flow of information, and you can control the people. Teach them that they're going to lose the things that they care most about if they leave or if they question. And then, of course, you get into the fact that they have completely changed the nature of who Jesus is, right? They don't believe in the Trinity, despite believing in all three, God the Father, Jesus the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, as they refer to it. But they believe they're separate and distinct beings.
Yeah.
Also not supported by biblical teaching.
Right.
And that's the hole it led us down. And honestly, it's the best thing that's ever happened to us.
Wow. So like as your faith in the Mormon Church is unraveling, and you said kind of crumbling.
Yeah.
Emotionally, what's going on? And it might have been different for both of you.
For me, emotionally, I didn't expect to feel as much anger as I did because I was born into this. I didn't make the conscious choice to become a Mormon. And I realized that my entire life I had been lied to. And that made me question faith as a whole. Was any part of anything that I learned even true?
Yeah.
Did I even know who Jesus was? How could I have spent so many years thinking that I was following Jesus when in reality I wasn't? And so the anger was unexpected. The fear was expected because with my family, I mean, I am generationally tied to the Mormon Church. And when you choose to leave, there's a lot of people where they are completely disowned by their family.
Yeah.
And I knew that telling them that we were leaving was going to be one of the hardest conversations that I would ever have.
Yeah.
Because of what that meant in their eyes. But it also gave me a sense of courage because at the end of the day, when Wes and I would talk, I felt like we were making the right decision for us. And I felt more of God's love than I had ever felt. I had felt closer to the Spirit. I finally felt at peace. There was always this thing holding me back in the Mormon Church. I was never afraid to say that I was Mormon. But I think at the back of my mind, I always knew that something was missing, that there was some part of truth that wasn't there. So when I finally allowed myself to accept what was happening, it was like this weight was removed from my shoulders that I had no idea was actually there. And so it brought a lot of peace after that point. And Wesley, thank goodness I had him to rely on because I went through lots of waves of emotions. I would be fine one day and freaking out the next at what would happen once we finally told my family. So for me, it was a lot to emotionally carry.
Yeah. What about you?
So I had some of the nerves in that we were uprooting our lives, essentially, not in moving to a new place, but the Mormon Church is a complete culture in and of itself, right? Not that they won't interact with the rest of the world, but the way they speak is different. The way they worship is different. And so that was a little nerve-wracking. But I was also probably more excited than I had ever been because the one thing Brooklyn said that I felt equally was a weight off of my shoulders. See, in the Mormon Church, they believe that we are saved by grace after all we can do.
Okay.
And imagine that weight.
Yeah.
Right? All those things that you have to do. And my mom asked me one day after we had left, she said, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that teaching means Jesus isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that just rocked my world.
It's like a light bulb moment, I
Right,
imagine.
right. And we were already out, but that in and of itself just changed my whole perspective, because it's exactly right. When there's a checklist of things that you have to do, like
To earn grace. Yeah.
Right, to earn that grace, what a weight to carry.
Mm.
And, I'll give you an example. In order to go to the Mormon temple, you have to pay tithing. Well, in order to get all the blessings that come from being a Mormon, you have to go to the temple. Sounds an awful lot to me like selling indulgences.
Sure.
Which, as we know, is no good.
Yeah.
And so, you pay your 10% to the $300 billion hedge fund that is the Mormon church, and there you go. You can go to the temple.
Yeah.
And you can receive all the blessings. Stop paying your tithing, no more.
Yeah.
Right? So that weight coming off of my shoulders was the most freeing.
Yeah.
That initial recognition that Jesus is enough, his grace is sufficient, was the most rewarding feeling that I've ever had.
And for me, it was interesting because I was pregnant at the time that we were going through all of this. So not only was I navigating this, I was navigating this for the life of our unborn daughter.
Yeah.
And when I realized that his grace would be enough for her and that she wouldn't be raised with that weight of never being good enough and having to earn exaltation and salvation, I felt so much joy and hope for her, knowing that she would never experience that. And so it was an incredible moment for me, knowing that all of the heartache that we were going through, she wouldn't have to experience.
Yeah. That's amazing. So at what point do y'all decide to leave the Mormon church? Do you start looking for other expressions of faith? Like how long was that gap?
Immediate. It was so funny. Again, the process of us leaving and crumbling away from the Mormon church was a 3-day thing. And so we turned to Google. And it's so funny. We Googled churches that were in the area, and the first one that came up was Mountaintop. And it's hilarious because Wes went to the About Us page and he saw that Carter's favorite movie was Tombstone and that he went to Georgia.
Yeah.
And he said audibly, that's a man that I could learn from, because his favorite movie is Tombstone, and he also is a huge Georgia Bulldogs fan.
Okay. All right.
And it just seemed so different for us. But we created a list on our phone, and we literally listed out different churches that we wanted to go tour. And so we literally went Sunday after Sunday going to different churches to try and figure out where actually feels like we're supposed to be. We felt guided by God at that point. So we were just being really prayerful on where do we go?
Yeah. Where's the right spot?
So props to whoever does your SEO, 'cause Mountaintop came up quick.
I'll be sure to let him know.
Please do. And so, Mountaintop was the first one on the list. We walked in. It was Super Bowl Sunday of 2025. And I think we were both terrified.
Oh, I'm sure.
A little
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was the first time I had gone to a different church. I had
In your
never
life.
in my life been
Yeah.
to a church besides a Mormon church.
Oh man, I can imagine how scary that is.
Oh, I was shaking.
Yeah.
I cried during worship because I was like, what am I doing? What am
Yeah.
I doing here?
And I'm sure some like illogical fear of like, what if someone sees me here who knows my family and tells them before I'm ready to?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it really was funny. One of the things that I told Wes that was really important to me was communion. It's something that you do every Sunday in the Mormon church. And I told him, I was like, it is really important to me that that's something that we do. And that Sunday, it was Communion Sunday.
Wow. I mean, like the odds of that are pretty low. We do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like every other month.
Something like that. Yeah. And then on top of that, it happened to be right in the middle of the Deconstruction Zone series
Oh,
that
wow.
Carter did. And that was the Sunday that he had everybody write their name on a name tag.
Right.
And
Put it on the
put
cross.
it on the cross.
Wow, how powerful.
Blown away.
Yeah.
Blown away. I mean, it just, I don't know that I've ever had a moment in my life quite like it where I felt like God had said, this is where you're supposed to be, more than that day.
Yeah, how awesome is that? Like one of the things that I've been on staff here at Mountaintop for 10 years and telling people's stories of life change. And I'm just blown away time and time again, the compassion that God has for us in the way that he gently pursues us. And then when we're ready to take that step, he's like, let's do it, game on. Like, I'm going to show up in amazing ways that you can't deny. And so, I mean, like, I'm getting teary-eyed. I'm sure like you get chills thinking about it. Just like the way that God perfectly orchestrated that Sunday for y'all. And whether Mountaintop was the place or not, just that God was coming near to you and being like, yeah, this is, and confirming the process that you had been through, had to bring just an amazing amount of peace.
Yeah.
Oh, it was spectacular. And yeah, I think we both left, and despite the fact that she had been kind of blown away by worship and, you know, out of her element, we both said that message really hit home and confirms to us that God is at least telling, if nothing else, he's telling us that we have done the right thing by getting away.
Mm.
Yeah. And for me, it was incredible because it told me that my time wasn't wasted.
Mm.
And that for me was a huge weight off my shoulders, because that was one of my fears, is that I had wasted 31 years of my life pursuing something that didn't matter. And knowing that when you deconstruct your faith, that God has been there the entire time, and that you're in the process of seeking truth when you do that, it completely changed my perspective that I was doing the right thing, that I was following what God was telling me, and that he did have a purpose for all that time that was invested. And it was interesting because after that Sunday, we started going to a few different churches, and there was one that we went to that we really liked, and we had decided, you know what, I think that this is it. And Wes was like, let's just go back to Mountaintop one more time. I was like, okay, their worship was really intimidating, but that's okay. I'm just not used to it.
Yeah.
And so we actually had some friends that had suggested that they wanted to go to Mountaintop too. And so we went with them to Mountaintop, and the message was incredible again. And we were standing outside of the doors, just hanging out, talking with them about how this was compared to some of the other churches that they had gone to.
Yeah.
And Carter stepped outside.
And he just introduced himself to us. I don't know what made him look out the doors and see people he didn't know and decide to just step out.
I mean, that's part of his thing. It's like his favorite thing about Sunday morning. I think most pastors, their favorite thing about Sunday morning is preaching the sermon, but I'm convinced, he might not admit to this, but I'm convinced his favorite part is being out in the atrium meeting people. He loves that. He gets so much energy from meeting new people.
And I see him out in the atrium a lot. I don't know that and I don't stand there and watch it.
Right.
That would be weird. But I don't know that I've ever seen him just walk outside.
Yeah.
And it was still, people were still clearing out. It was kind of raining outside that day, and he just stepped out the door and said hello, introduced himself. He asked our, kind of our background, what brought us to Mountaintop. Yeah. And we told him we were in the process of leaving the Mormon church. Our friends who were with us are actually kind of in the middle of their leaving journey right now. We love them. We're so grateful for them. And so it's been great to have some people kind of going through
the same thing,
something similar.
Yeah.
And Carter just, as soon as we told him, he said two things. Number one, you need Alpha.
Mm.
And number two, let me get you introduced to Nick so he can show you around the kids' area.
Yeah,
because we told him that she was pregnant,
yeah.
And that was something that was really important to us. So he did. He brought us back inside and introduced us to Nick. We got the Alpha pamphlet, and Nick, being just the most infectious, spectacular person
you gotta love
in
Nick.
The world, really he is. And he just so graciously showed us around, and we fell in love with this place.
For me as a soon-to-be mom, when I was taken down the stairs and I saw the amount of attention and energy that's poured into kids, I got just this confirmation that that's where we were supposed to be, because I wanted a place where my daughter would be loved and looked after and where she would be taught to follow Jesus. And it was just this incredible thing because every single age is looked after in that way. And
Yeah.
it's tailored specifically to them. And to see that, I had known that we had made the right choice. I had known that my daughter's faith would be looked after from day one, which was everything of what I wanted.
Yeah. And now little Scotty's here.
Yeah, she's here and
She's
she
here.
is loving nursery. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
The babysitter that we have right now is actually someone from the nursery.
Oh, that's
so not
awesome.
only does she get it on Sundays, she gets it at our house whenever we need a babysitter.
That's awesome.
And she just recently got dedicated, and it was amazing being
Yeah.
able to have her dedicated in a church that we believe in.
Did your families come?
My family did. Brooklyn's family was supposed to be here. Her dad had a freak accident. He fell off a 20-foot
no.
ladder.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Landed flat-footed, messed his legs up real good. The day before they were
Oh,
supposed to
no.
fly in.
But they were going to come.
They
Yeah.
were. And I tell you what, the way we broke the news to them, we sent them a letter. It was just the best way we could come up with. This was middle of last year. And it was really just the best way we could come up with to fully organize our thoughts,
Sure.
not turn it into a fight or an argument.
Right.
And the crux of that letter was, we love you. This has not changed that. As a matter of fact, our care and love for you is amplified. We are walking the path that we feel God has put in front of us, and he's been pulling us towards this for quite some time.
Yeah.
And they have just been nothing but supportive.
Which
How-
for me
Yeah,
was
like how was that for you?
the biggest weight off my shoulders because I believed I was losing my family.
Sure.
But I knew that I was doing what God wanted me to do. And my mom called me, and of course she avoided the subject for a little bit after, and she told me, she was like, your dad and I love you, and this does not change that at all. I appreciate that you're going to respect our beliefs. We're going to respect your beliefs. But at the end of the day, this does not change that. And it was a huge weight because not everyone experiences that when
Yeah.
they step away from the religion that they've been raised in. They can be completely turned away. And to not have that reaction and to have so much love poured out to me by my entire family was such a huge relief. And it was, again, just confirmation that the fears that had been placed on my heart were not legitimate.
Yeah.
It was all fear tactics to try
Yeah.
and keep us in a place where you really are tried to be kept. So
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Yeah. So, how was Alpha? Explain Alpha to me and your experience there.
Yeah. So we showed up. They were about, I think it was the 4th week
Okay.
of the 10 or 11 week program.
Yeah.
And so we really didn't know anybody but Nick.
Yeah.
Funny enough, Carter happened to still be there, and he came by and shook our hands and said welcome,
Yeah.
and that he was glad we were there. And
Week 4 is like why Jesus had to die, or who is Jesus? Somewhere in that
I
space,
think
right?
So.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I don't remember exactly which week it was, but I think you're on the money there. And Nick brought us into his group, and in that group and throughout the time we were in Alpha, not only did we meet several of our now closest friends, but we just repeatedly got confirmation from God that we were doing something right. And because I'll be honest, Alpha felt a little basic.
Sure.
Right? We've been in
Yeah.
and around faith our whole lives. And so there were questions that were being asked that maybe I didn't think applied to me quite as much as somebody who's never experienced faith.
Right.
But there's a reason I would tell anybody to go experience Alpha. It's because, number one, maybe something that will help one of the
Someone
people
else,
there
yeah.
who doesn't know
Yeah.
or has questions. And then also, come experience Alpha so that you can talk to other people who don't have any experience with faith. Because how can you recommend something if you've never sat through it and understood what
Right.
it is and what it's designed for. So that's been kind of my position. And so that first 10, 11 weeks of Alpha was really, really special and kind of a critical time for us as we were just getting into Mountaintop, because
Yeah,
it
sure.
helped us find friends and community, which is one of the biggest things we were looking for.
Yeah.
And for me, I had never experienced traditional Christianity. And so I was in this weird internal battle of what did I learn was partially true? Is any of it actually true? And so having it be basic for me was really a relief, because I was able to learn the basics at a fundamental level and realize what I had learned that was kind of true and what wasn't.
Yeah.
And so it was a really great foundation to be relayed for me after I had deconstructed my faith. And it was so confirming to be able to ask questions and to not feel like I'm going to be asking something stupid and have the pressure of all of these scriptorians being around me, but to know that every question that I had was valid, and to be around people that also were seeking Jesus and that wanted to experience him was such a relief. And so for me, having it be a really good, easy transition into Christianity was exactly what I needed at that time, because I had never experienced that before.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool experience. One of the days was about, does Jesus still heal? And that was something that I had a very difficult pregnancy, and it was one where I asked specifically that I would have prayers that I would be able to continue to endure the rest of my pregnancy well. And they laid hands on me and said a prayer specifically for that. And they also prayed over my relationship with my dad, because that was one that was a little bit tumultuous. When I left, I could tell that he was having a hard time. And that week he called me and we had an amazing conversation. And pregnancy didn't get easier, but I was able to still endure it well. And so the fact that people that I didn't know from Adam were willing to lay hands on me and pray over me,
Yeah.
and that they genuinely cared about what was going on in my life, was something that I needed more than I realized, was just that sense of community and belonging and support.
Yeah, certainly after you had just felt like maybe you had forfeited so much of that, right? To, in a matter of weeks, have found people in a supernatural way who care for you is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about how your faith is different now.
It's more authentic. It's more genuine. I love that I can question freely and that I have a place where I can go to find answers. I've never felt more encouraged to seek out truth. And for me, my faith has never been stronger that God actually answers those questions and that he wants to continue to encourage me to ask them. I've never felt closer to Wes when it comes to faith, to see him stepping into this incredible role of leading our family. I always wanted that for him, but I never saw that desire in the Mormon church. But I had always seen little glimpses of it. And to see him wanting to talk about faith to people that we know is so encouraging for me, because he has an incredible testimony and he has such a way of speaking that's powerful.
Yeah.
And to see his faith grow like that has been just encouraging for me as well. So it's been the easiest transition for me, is having faith that now feels natural.
What about you, Wes?
Talking about it, I never wanted to talk to people about being a Mormon,
Oh, interesting.
ever. Even when I served a Mormon mission, I would go out of my way to avoid people. Riding on bikes, I'd have companions with me who'd want to stop and talk to people, and I just wanted to keep on going, get to where we were going, and almost hide my face. And I never really understood that. I didn't, I thought, okay, maybe I'm just not an evangelist type of person.
You said that specifically to me.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't get that gift.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Where now, that's all I want to talk about. I've found myself having conversations with coworkers, and it helps that I also serve in Alpha, and so I am having conversations with people there. I am having conversations with my parents that for 15 years were off the table.
Sure.
Things we just couldn't talk about because we couldn't agree.
Right, you would disagree all the time.
Mm-hmm. And most of the time I didn't even really understand what I was disagreeing with. I just, living in my bubble.
Right.
And so I think for me, that is the biggest thing is I want to talk to people about it. I want to talk to people about what I'm reading in the Bible. I want to, I want to be present. I want to be at Mountaintop, right? This is a place I want to be because I feel uplifted.
Mm.
That was never something I had. Going to church for me at the Mormon church was almost a punishment.
Mm.
Like, do we really have to go on Sunday? Whereas now I wake up and I'm ready to get here.
Yeah.
Right? I love Sundays. I love going to students and serving with the 9th grade boys. It fills my cup. And so for me, that is the biggest thing, is my passion for it.
It's come alive in
It
a new
really
way.
has. Yeah. It really has. And Mountaintop has just fueled that. Everybody that we've met and interacted with has just been spectacular, welcoming and friendly and inviting us to things. We found the community that we never really had in the Mormon church.
It's awesome. And y'all's story is so good. And I think even though probably different than 90% of the people who go to Mountaintop, I think there's relatable pieces to it, right? Of people who have walked through seasons of doubt and questioning, and come out on the other side and found that God is faithful. So thank you for sharing and being an open book about what you've come through and how you see Jesus working in your life now. I'm interested. I've got 2 more questions. One is what are you most excited about and looking forward to as you continue to walk with Jesus? I'd love to hear you just kind of talk about the future, like raising Scotty and.
Yeah, that would be the top spot, right? Is just seeing her grow and just get to know Jesus on a personal level, in a way that we never really had. Because she's growing up in truth and grace. And so that is the top priority. It was the biggest thing we were looking for in a church family. And then I am just excited to continue to grow and really revel in the good news of the gospel.
That's awesome.
Right? It fills me every day. I love it. I love it. Reading the Bible and understanding that I don't have to rely on a man who is imperfect to tell me what it means. That I can take those things to God, and I can sit in church on Sundays and listen to Carter, and then I can take it back and I can fact check it against the Word is the most freeing and relieving feeling, and I'm just excited for that to continue. Yeah.
Your obvious excitement and passion for the gospel is inspiring to me. Obviously, I've given my life to the church, and so to see that this still happens, right? That people still come, their faith still comes alive is inspiring to me. But I think it's inspiring for all of us who follow Jesus, right? Because I think, even in a way that's similar to what y'all's experience in the Mormon church, where your faith started to crumble. I think sometimes following Jesus can become stale for those of us who have been doing it forever. And just the reminder of this is something to be passionate about. This is something that should consume your life. And that if you lose that fire, to just try to find ways to fan the flame and come back to that again. That's your story's been so inspiring to me in that way.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, absolutely.
How do you, if you're in that place and you find faith getting stale? Obviously we're brand new into this and we have not been in that.
Yeah, you'll have
place
seasons
yet,
like that.
But
yeah.
What's your strategy to break free of that?
Yeah, I think the disciplines of following Jesus are important, right? Like I say this all the time. There is no replacement for time spent with Jesus. And so oftentimes if I notice in myself stagnation or a lack of passion, it's because something in my habits is out of whack. I'm not truly spending time with Jesus. And there's just there's no way to replicate that, right? There's no amount of sermon prep. There's no amount of small group. There's no amount of doing things for God, for the church, that can replace actual personal time with Jesus. It's the relationship, right, that y'all have experienced, that personal relationship with God. If that is intact, then I might go through seasons where things are stagnant or seem stale, but I can know that I'm always going to come out on the other side of that because I'm connected to that tether, that source. And so those disciplines are really important. And I think lately I've been finding solitude, that oftentimes if I feel like something's off balance in my life, it's because of my circumstances. It's because of things going on in my life. It's because of the way that I'm rubbing up against my own brokenness or brokenness in the world. And so one of my solutions for that is just to get away from that noise. Because I think the enemy can use those things to lie to us. And so just getting away from that noise, removing that and getting alone with God and not having to produce anything for him and just be with him, right? That kind of, that fans my flame, right? Going back to that, like, I want this to feel like it did the first time I sat down with you, Jesus, you know?
Yeah.
And asking him to move in that way, I think is a big way. It's a great question though.
I love that.
Yeah. Cause there will be seasons like where your faith it expresses itself differently. And you've got to find ways to, thrive in those seasons, in the valleys and in the mountaintops. What about you, Brooklyn? Like what is different and what are you looking forward to in the future?
I think I'm really looking forward to leaning into the options that the church provides for community. I've joined a small group, which is the first time I've ever experienced a small group, and the immediate friendships that I was able to form and the ability to study the Word of God with other people and for them to bring their questions and their struggles and to know that we're just a community together has been so encouraging for me.
Yeah.
And like Wes said, just the ability to read the Bible and to reconnect with Jesus on a daily basis has given me so much excitement that God has been around forever.
Sure.
He has had people that have struggled with not exactly what we're dealing with, but similar things. People have struggled their entire lives with pride and envy and all of those things that I struggle with. And to be able to spend time watching other people go through struggles makes me feel not alone. And so the fact that I can spend time in the Word and find community and just grow in my faith with other people that are all walking the same path is just given me so much hope for what this next season is going to be. And just knowing that I can raise Scotty in a place that truly loves her and that is encouraging her is really exciting for me, and to be able to just start her on the right foot when it comes to her faith.
Yeah. I'm excited to, hopefully I'm still around when she comes to faith. Yeah. And to see, the work that God did in y'all's life over this last year and a half come to fruition in hers. I mean, that'd be amazing.
Amazing.
I have one question. I ask this at the end of each of our stories of life change because I love hearing people's answers. Who is Jesus to you?
My Savior. He's everything. The God of heaven and earth, the Creator, the constant, the friend, and at times the one who breaks me down and tells me I need to do better.
Someone who is willing to die for someone as imperfect as me so that I could have a chance to become whole again.
Oh, wow. Those are great answers. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for sharing about who Jesus is to you and how that's changed your life. And and I know people will be blessed and challenged and inspired from hearing y'all's stories. So thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Just an awesome episode listening to Wes and Brooklyn. You want me to keep going? Okay. No, you're good. You're good. Just an awesome episode, getting an opportunity to listen to Wes and Brooklyn share their story. Our next episode is going to be one more question and answer. It's kind of a special one because I'm not even sure that Brooklyn knows this, but she has submitted a question online, and we're actually going to answer it in our next episode. And so I actually want her to read it to you. So I'm going to give it to her in a second, and she's going to read you the question that we're going to answer next episode that she asked us. So
the reason why I asked this question is this is one of the core differences between Mormonism and traditional Christianity. And it's something where it's often used in Mormonism to tell why Mormonism is the true church, not compared to regular Christianity. And so this has been one of the biggest things that I've struggled with. So my question was, I wrestle daily with the concept of the Trinity, and I feel like that is a big hindrance in my ability to move forward in my faith journey. Being raised in the Mormon church, I was indoctrinated that God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit were three separate beings, but one in purpose. Now, after leaving the Mormon church, I am being taught that this is not true, and they are truly one. This breaks my brain a little bit to try and accept this. Nope, that's
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a confusing concept, and it's one of like the great mysteries of Christian theology. And I've got actually 3 books in my office right now that I'm reading through in order to answer this question.
Thank you.
And so Carter and I are going to try to tackle it in our next episode together. And I'm looking forward to doing that. And because I think it's a question that a lot of us wrestle with, even those of us who didn't come from your background, of like, what exactly is the Trinity, and where do we get that in the Bible, and what passages can I look at to learn more? And so I'm excited to answer that in our next episode. You can take a sneak peek at that episode right here.
Jesus says in John 14, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Right? So it's this idea of like not something secondary, like that he and the Father are one, and they are the same and distinct.
You know, there are a whole bunch of unhelpful kind of word diagrams that you can use to kind of paint a picture to relate it to the human world. But frankly, there's not a human analogy that works completely because this is a supernatural concept. And so we don't have any kind of evidence in our physical world for a being that is made up of 3 persons.
That's it for today's episode of One More Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. If this conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or made you think, do us a favor. Subscribe, leave a quick review, and share this episode with a friend. Seriously, sharing it helps more people find the kind of conversations we all need. And hey, if you've got questions you want us to tackle in a future episode, send them to ask us at onemorepodcast.org. We'll see you next time for one more conversation about what matters.